and also hopefully giving some people some exposure. Like as Chuck mentioned, he's looking for a job right now. I'm hoping this can also help with that. So without further ado, I think we'll get started. I'm just gonna switch up in Twitch Studio here. So we're gonna go into. I guess did you want to talk about the
Yeah, let's look.
documentation?
Let's look at documentation first, and then we'll go from there.
Okay, cool. So if you don't mind just sharing your screen, you should have access to it.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So before Chuck gets started here, so as I mentioned, Forem, if you aren't familiar with it, it's what the practical dev, aka dev.to, is built on. We also have documentation that's pretty thorough, but if you ever find holes in it, feel free to contribute to it as well. And I'll let Chuck take it from here.
Yeah. So I was telling Nick earlier, I had a manager years ago when I was in construction. We would start with a problem, and he would always say, "Okay, what do we know?" And I think it's a great place to start with any task. If it's adding a new feature today, if it's being involved in the repository, reading the comments and the suggestions, the best place to start is the docs. So we're going to look at those first. The beginning part of the docs here basically shows the different tags that are available and the way you insert those into a article or comments or what have you. And so you can see there's a lot of them in here. There's JS fiddles, and there's REPLs, and Instagram, and tweets, and a lot of different things you could insert with the liquid tags. And the way you develop those is here. And we're basically going to be following this today because it's pretty straightforward. We have to start a class and inherit from the base of liquid tag base. We have to initialize it and use a render method, and that gets it started. We also have to create a ERB partial, and we'll be defining it here with a constant inside the class. And then there are a few, so we're not going to restrict. So there are a few other things that you need to be added with this as well. And that is documentation for the editor itself, and eventually some spec files to test it. So this is the place to start. Like I said, what we're going to do is basically going to be this part here. It's going to be a little different, but not much. And this is based on the Kotlin tag.
Okay, I have a quick question. I'm familiar with it, but not a ton. But so just for people tuning in, the dev code base is primarily a Ruby code base, Ruby on Rails.
Yeah.
So you were talking about an RB partial. That's what exactly?
A ERB partial is it's a template language that's used in the Rails platform, and it's mostly HTML, but you can also embed Ruby commands inside of it. And we'll look at that in more detail. Actually, the ERB file that we're going to create is going to be strictly an iframe tag, which is the way that Golang and some others will be embedded into our documents. So there's actually not much to that. One variable that will be attached to it, but that's about it.
Okay.
And we'll step through that when we get into it.
All right. I think I found the right link for herb templates on the web, but I'm going to paste it in the chat. If somebody knows of a better link, feel free to put it in the chat.
And that's just the default. There are other templating languages that can be used in Rails. I'm working on a Rails site right now, and I'm using Haml because I wanted to learn it. It's kind of like Pug, and so there are a lot of different templating languages. But ERB is the one that's in Rails by default, and it's the one that this site uses. So,
okay, I know I've used because my background's primarily been 2/3 of my career was .NET ecosystem, but since then it's been Node and JavaScript mainly, and I've used Mustache templates and so on. Is that's supported as well in?
Yes, yeah, and it's like this is going to be kind of similar to that. The way you embed bits of code and inside your HTML rendering, yeah.
Okay, cool. All right, and I'm gonna